Now, when you're writing, your goal is for other people to read what you're writing, unless you're writing like personal poetry or, I don't know, a note to yourself. But otherwise, the whole goal is to communicate to someone else. And your job then is to convince them that it's worth reading. So you've got to hook them. There's my little hook. Okay, sorry. You got to hook your reader like a fish right in the mouth. And you have to make it so unbelievably interesting that they want to read what you've written. For example, you could put in an attention-grabbing statement like, 1 billion fans can't be wrong. And you're like, wrong about what? And then you keep reading, and it's talking about football around the world. Or, whoa, you thought the deserts in the USA were hot. And let's say you're talking about the Sahara Desert. And you're like, what are they talking about? What is hotter than the USA? Because we drip around here. Or you could describe a related setting. The night before was peaceful. The wind was blowing, fireflies pulsed, and crickets did their usual chirping. The next day that ended. And you're like, why? And you realize, oh, they dropped a big atomic bomb, which is disastrous. You could have a quote. Logic will get you from A to Z. Imagination will get you anywhere. That was something Albert Einstein said. He's a very creative dude. Interesting fact. Let's say you're trying to write about coffee's effect on children. But you're like, how can I? That's interesting in itself. But how can I make people go, oh, I want to know. The stimulating effects of coffee were first observed in the 9th century by goat herders who noticed their goats started dancing after eating coffee beans. That's just darn cool. That's just so cool. So obviously that is a good hook. Or here's a first sentence. The hot air, this is like an analogy, a comparison. The hot air spreads like birds flying into the wind. At first a struggle, and then they soar. For the history of hot air balloons. So this is a metaphor where hot air is birds in the wind. You could have a question. Are fairy tales always as happy as they are in the Disney movies? And the answer is, of course, no. But what if your reader didn't know that? Or an anecdote, which basically means a little bitty short story. You can summarize a teeny tiny story that is related to your topic. Now, what I want you to do first is we are going to look at some of them. I want you to look at this link, adorable Vietnamese mouse deer. And I want you to think, what type of hook from below was used? And then I want you to you're just reading the beginning. If you want to read the rest, go for it. But you're just reading the beginning paragraph or two. These are longer than our writings. So ours is only 5 paragraphs. These are more like 10. So they have a bigger hook. You don't really need to write a hook any more than 1 sentence in length. But if you want to write a 2 to 3 sentence hook, go for it. Astronauts eating cookies. Figure out what type of hook did they use. Crafty bacteria and antibiotic resistance. What type of hook from here was used? And then we're going to do this one in class. It is awesome. They are watching you and everything else on the planet. I mean, just the title alone, it's a hook. Because you're like, what? So anyway, people don't want to read a lot of words unless you hook them in. So hook them in, dudes. Hook me in. How do I turn it off?